Hello everyone, welcome back. My face looks awful red. I'm warm. I don't feel sick, so I don't know. Don't mind this. I gotta adjust this light. Don't mind. Should have done all this before, but you know, why do that? Okay. So this is part 2. This is requested by Oscar, and we will run with that to here. Rubin versus Hoffman. I don't know yet. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the video. Get the arrow off my face. Let's go.
Was running away with the nomination.
Yeah.
And then he got shot in California.
Yeah.
Replaced by McGovern, who nobody liked.
That was Bobby Kennedy he was talking about, got shot. He was running. Very popular. Was shot. And there's a... who was it that announced? Somebody announced Bobby Kennedy's shooting to a crowd, and I remember the crowd just like, what? Bobby Kennedy, I think, told a crowd that Martin Luther King had been shot. I believe. I could be wrong on that.
And Nixon ran against McGovern.
How close to the election did Bobby get shot?
It's a good question. It was California primary. He was there for he'd been winning everything.
Yeah. Oh, so it was in the primaries.
It was in the primaries.
Yeah.
And
what was the name of the guy who shot him? It was like something
Sirhan. Yes, and there's a picture, a famous picture of him laying there, and there was so if you look at the picture, there's a guy holding him. You see that guy holding his head?
Yeah.
He's a busboy. A just Mexican busboy working in a hotel. And it was in the kitchen. Like he had just made a speech. And he was coming through. Just to back up for a second with Bobby. Because Bobby was an incredible guy. Bobby had a fluid mind of a crackling brain. Like he was like, John was, moved slow and made careful moves. And Bobby was passionate, When my mother, when I first got an iPhone, first time I'd ever held that thing, I took it to my mother's house, and my mother was a computer programmer, but this item was like, she's like, it's a phone. And I go, name any image or moment, recorded moment.
That's what she went with?
What's that?
And that's the one she went with?
Just no, let me finish. I said, name any recorded moment in history.
Yeah.
And she said, when Martin Luther King was killed, Bobby Kennedy was about to have a rally, give a speech at a rally of all black people. It was a black audience, like in some city. And he got the news. And he had to tell the audience that MLK had been assassinated. And he, off the cuff, said some things about it and gave a speech, which was just very moving. And I just went, fucking RFK, MLK.
Yeah.
And played it for her. And she was like, wow. What is happening? Yeah.
That's awesome. I thought, I was close with my guess. I thought your mom was going to be like, if I could see anything in the world right now,
it would be him getting
show me
killed.
Him dead on the ground.
I was just about to say, show me the picture of him laying on the ground after he had been shot. What a terrible image. Yeah. Bobby Kennedy announced to the crowd, like he comes out there and he's like, I know we're all here. I know we're all here for a reason. I can't do the accent. I apologize. And he just says, before I get started, I just want everyone to know that I was just informed that Martin Luther King was shot. And the crowd's like, what? And he didn't even get to finish. He's like, he was shot and killed. And it's like people are like, what? The second part hit. And it was, I haven't seen the whole video. Like, I've just seen him announcing to that part. I might have seen the whole video, I just don't remember it. But he announces that part, and that rally, it was no longer about him. It was about, MLK.
So he's show me that motherfucker
I'd like to see it.
with blood on his face. So he was shot coming out of they were taking him through the kitchen. Sirhan shoots him. And this busboy is the one who catches him. It just was in a melee of people. So a guy who had nothing to do with anything, senor. So he's got Kennedy's head in his lap, and he looks down at him. And he never spoke about it. Like, he wouldn't. Press used to ask him. He just refused to talk about it because he felt the moment was very personal. But he finally, I think guy might be dead, but I saw an interview with him where he said what happened, which is that Bobby said he just asked him, do you have a rosary? He knew he would because he's fucking Mexican. He said, do you have a rosary? And he did. And they gave him a rosary, and he basically took his last rites.
Holy shit.
He gave Bobby a shot at a Catholic little death.
Damn.
Sirhan went to prison. I think he's still alive. I think he's still in prison. So he shows up in a great book by the guy who invented profiling in the FBI, the guy who invented criminal profile.
Okay.
Richard Kessler, something like that. This guy wrote this book. He was the first guy in the FBI to come up with the idea of figuring out why killers do what they do. They didn't used to do that.
The guy for the Mindhunter show?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know. He invented this thing.
Yes.
So, and the book is great because the book starts with a guy who murdered a serial killer who killed somebody in in Sacramento somewhere in some neighborhood, killed a lady, went in her house, killed a lady, and then killed another lady the next day. And so they flew this guy in who had become famous for this. He took one look at the murder scene. He said, you're looking for a white man in his 40s who has a big beard. He's living in his car that's filled with newspapers and trash from McDonald's. And if you don't catch him, he's going to do this every day. And they went and found the guy exactly on that. So then when that guy was caught, he did the next part of his job, which was he interviewed him to find out, because these guys love talking. And he asked him all the questions so they understand these guys better. And he asked the guy, how did you pick your victims? That's a key thing that's in finding out how they're going to pick the next one. And he said, I would just go to any house, and if the door was unlocked, I'd kill anybody in there. So it wasn't like she looked like my mom.
Yeah.
And so he said, I'm putting this in the first chapter to just tell you, you're going to just lock your doors. Please lock your door. Yeah. Okay, so that guy.
It's funny to just ruin the profiling thing.
Yes.
He's like, oh no, I don't.
No, if the door's unlocked.
What are you talking about?
If you're dumb.
The guy who comes up with it has this great scientific knowledge and able to deduce how things happen. And then the serial killer's like, I don't know, the door was unlocked. I just went in. And you're kind of like, this guy, complete brains, serial killer, stupid asshole idiot, full of shit dummy. The brains did find this guy, though. But yeah, why'd you kill him? Oh, the door was open, so I just walked in. I just decided I was just going to do it. I did. You're just like, you didn't know them? Nope, no idea who they were. Okay. Well, that helps a lot, apparently. Yeah, crazy stuff.
Kill you. But anyway, all that, I know I'm getting away from presidents. No, the point is, that guy, once he learned this thing of like talking to the guys, he realized we have all the most notorious killers in federal prisons. I want to go talk to them. And he couldn't get permission because everyone in the FBI said that's macabre and it's inappropriate. Yeah. So then he realized, why am I asking? It's just go to a federal prison, show him he's like a gold FBI badge.
Yeah.
So the first guy he talked to was Sirhan.
Wow.
He shows up and he just says, I want to see him. And Sirhan comes.
Was he like, the kitchen was
like,
unlocked?
Who are you?
He said the kitchen was unlocked. I didn't even know who the fuck that guy was.
So he didn't ask. I don't know if he asked him that question, but he talked to Sirhan for a couple hours, and it was a dead end. He just he rambled, and he talked about his conspiracy, what he thought was, why he did it. He has a weird story that he thinks why he did it. And he didn't learn anything. And he thought maybe this isn't a good idea. He was about to give up on the science of this. And then right before Sirhan left, he stopped and he took off his shirt because he works out in prison. And he goes, "Hey, what do you think of Sirhan now?" And he showed his muscles and he went like, "Oh, he's fucking vain. He's vain. He wants people to look at him." And that unlocked, that's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
So like that Hannibal Lecter thing, what does he do? He kills women. No, that's incidental.
Yeah.
What is the point of the guy? So anyway, that's Sirhan. Kill Robert Kennedy.
Sirhan's got to be dead, right?
When was it? That was 60. He still goes out for parole every few years. And
they got to let him out. Oh, he's got a couple years, dude.
Yeah.
The best is the guy who shot. Oh, well, I guess we'll get to him.
Well, Mike Sweeney, comedian, did the best joke ever. He wrote for Conan for years, but he was a great stand-up. And I'm saying his name, so I think I can steal his joke. Mike Sweeney. He used to do a joke about her Sirhan.
I'm only pausing because it kind of glitches up, and I can see that the meter isn't moving very far. I checked my internet. I got a good signal and everything like that. I think it's just with everything that's going on out there.
At his first parole hearing, he said, "I think if Robert Kennedy was alive today, he would say that I should be let go." And he goes, "Boy, just of all the bad luck, it's the one guy who would have stuck up for him. Turns out it's the guy he shot." Anyway, Sirhan kills Robert Kennedy. And Democrats go to the fucking convention in Chicago. Richard Daley and the fucking yippies show. And then we had another time like this. Far way out left yippies making a noise and wanting it to be a riot at the Democratic National Convention, not the Republican. They were like Nixon. There's another time like that it was like, yeah, we all know Nixon's a dick, but let's fuck with the Democrats. Let's go after the liberal side of things. And there was gas,
there's horses running over people.
Insane. So it was like the Democrats came across as this fucking chaotic bunch.
Yep.
They end up with McGovern and nobody gives a fuck. It's just this bad sort of like fucking the Democrats represent chaos and drugs and all this stuff. And there wasn't a thing of like, let's get together behind McGovern to beat Nixon. That just was not going to happen. So Nixon fucking finally, after all those years of his long life in politics, having been vice president for fucking Eisenhower, having been a senator and during the McCarthy hearings, all this stuff, he ends up being president of the United States in 1960. And he gets the people, he does the moral majority, the people or what do you call them? The silent majority. The silent majority.
Still
and all the guys that hard hats who hated hippies. And he counted on that. And it won, and he won.
Yeah, it's coming again. We're doing the same thing.
Same thing.
Exact same thing.
Same thing. So then you get to Nixon through 4 years, and he gets to 72. Now
I have a question. Was the press gay back then, like they are now? Were they like totally like?
Well, it was a different bunch of guys, like Dan Rather and fucking, I mean, I'm forgetting all these guys' names.
It was never this partisan, though, right?
No, because there was the CBS News, which was Walter Cronkite. And there was NBC and ABC. That was the news was you chose between three dudes. And there was David Brinkley, and they had Meet the Press. They had some stuff they even still have now.
Yeah.
But it was the press was centralized. There wasn't this sort of like, the written press was pretty out there. But the TV news was what everybody was really following. And so everyone watched the same news. And then we argued. So it was different. And you never had a sense that the press, to answer your question, no, they really weren't gay. Shane, I don't agree with using gay that way. He's even making me sound gay because I'm so upset with him. My God. So Well, like Cronkite. Cronkite was a picture.
It's funny to actually be gay when you're being gay.
It's the best.
Like to be mad about something. Get a coaster for that.
Stop it. Yeah. Stop it. Especially this angry gay. Stop it. Shane.
What's more terrifying?
No, that would be if you had two gay dads. There would have been one who's like, Shane, just don't make him mad. Shane, what the fuck are you saying to him? Shane.
It could be the most terrible. That's the most scary, getting yelled at.
By your gay dad.
I
knew a gay. I knew a number of gay dads and two moms when I was raising my kids. A lot of their friends had gay dads, and I saw it's the same as any other stereotype. There are many kinds of heterosexual parents. There are soft-hearted, useless heterosexual parents. There are distracted, narcissistic, I think I can change my kid's life parents that are heterosexuals. And there's just fucking like, got it, gets it, doing the tough work heterosexual parents. And it's the same in my experience with gay moms and gay dads. I've known gay dads who are just like hard tack fucking, I'm not fucking this up.
Yeah.
But also I know it's his life. That like I've known so many kinds, but they all sound like this. But anyway, not really.
Kick the ball.
Not
Kick
really,
it, Tyler. Go.
It's more fun.
The fucking T-ball.
Well, that's
game.
what a straight dad sound like.
Yeah.
But so
gay dads are great.
Gay dads are great. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
Walter Cronkite has two great moments that show you what the press was back then. There's the moon landing, and there's Kennedy getting killed. These, and again, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see both of these. So the moon landing is just they show the fucking footage of Neil touching down, which didn't happen. They didn't never land on the moon. And then they cut to Cronkite.
What's his name? That was your boy. That was Kubrick, dude. He did the moon landing.
Kubrick did the
moon.
That's why they gave him all the lenses. Yeah, he used the lenses for Barry Lyndon. It's true. Barry Lyndon is a great movie by Stanley Kubrick, and it takes place in like the 1600s, and he wanted it to look like that, so he used no electric lights, but he needed lenses that drink a huge amount of light, and he got NASA to give him moon lenses.
So he did do the moon landing.
Yes, nobody's ever been on the moon. Nobody's ever been on the moon. 100%.
You see there's some clues in The Shining.
Huh?
There's clues that
about
he did
the moon.
It. Yeah,
I don't believe this. I think they went to the moon.
But we'll see.
But
no, I think somebody was trying to argue that in like some Chinese astronomy, they found they satellite images of where people landed.
Yeah,
I do believe in the moon landing, and there is I'll say a plaque, but it's not. Whatever it is, it's on the moon, and they can fire a laser at it, and the laser will hit and shine back, and that lets them know, because they measure the distance that the moon creeps away from the Earth every year. If you didn't know, I think every year the moon moves 2.5 inches further away from the Earth in its gravitational rotation, and eventually it'll move far enough away to where the Earth won't have the moon for its axis, like for its gravitational thing, and so it'll just start swaying on its own out of control. I think that's going to be next year, but I'm just joking.
They're like, why would we help cover this?
By the way, they went up like 20 times. It's not even that big a deal. But so Cronkite, when they landed on the moon, you just cut to him and he's got this big childish grin on his face. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't say, this is a marvelous moment. He just reports, and Neil has landed. A man has landed on the moon. He says the facts, but he's got a bit, you can see the feeling, but he doesn't say it. And then the other moment that is just devastating is when Kennedy dies. He says, he gets the report, he gets it in his hand, and he says, President Kennedy has died. He died at 12 o'clock, and he takes off his glasses to look at the clock above him because he's reading, to look at the clock above him, and says, and that's 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. He just reports that Kennedy has died and reports the time, and he looks at his local clock, and then he puts his glasses back on, and he goes,
sports.
And he just swallows. Vice President Lyndon Johnson is to be sworn into. And there's this moment between where he's taking in that the president of the United States is dead, which without even thinking about who it was just horrible. Yeah. And then that he probably knew him, you know? So, but that was he didn't grandstand, you know, you watch the news now and they're just like, you know, and they're just feeling shit.
Yeah.
And it's horrible. They are not supposed to, you know, like when I worked for Letterman, the Yankees were in the World Series. And I got caught up in it, and because I'm a New Yorker, I'm a Boston guy, but I just got caught up in it. It was fun. So we took Larry Bud Melman, this character that Letterman had, to the game and interviewed the players, and then I got to be in the press box during the game. And me and a friend of mine who was a writer were sitting there watching the game, and we're cheering when the Yankees hit, and then we look and everyone's staring at us like, "What the fuck are you doing? You don't cheer in the press box." Like it was like we're all fans of something, but shut the fuck up. I think that shit's gone. I think that's all really
certainly.
Gone. But anyway, so Nixon serves.
Also, one more thing about Kennedy.
I know someone. I don't know them personally. I've never actually met them, but I talk to them a lot. And they used to be a scout for the Carolina Panthers, Houston Texans, several other teams that he used to try to get on, but he was a regional scout. So he would scout college players in certain areas. And a lot of the times he would cover Notre Dame, Ohio State, Michigan, you know, that region. Doesn't do it anymore, but he still does because he writes now. His name's Jeff Risdon. He writes articles. He covers a lot of Detroit Lions stuff, some Cleveland Brown stuff, but and Houston Texans. He's his family's. He moved down there. His family's fans of it. On the Detroit Lions podcast on YouTube, I watch it, and so he went over covering games, and he would sit in the press box because he attends preseason games. They do Senior Bowl stuff, a lot of scouting stuff, but he's been in that press box, and he says it's one of the most uncomfortable things because he's a diehard Lions fan, diehard Cleveland Browns fan, and he says, and in those moments you're watching them, and inside you're going, but you can't, you have to be emotionless because they're all professionals here. And I could never do that. Like that profession, I would be the guy they'd be like, look, we can't have him in there because I'd be going, where's the holding? There should be a penalty on that one. And then, touchdown! I would be that guy, and they would be looking at me just like, this guy's unprofessional. Yeah, because I'm a fan. I'm professional, but I'm also excited. Like I couldn't separate the two. It just, but yeah, there are moments where he's just like, oh, and he said, you just get like this, like because everyone's in a line, and he'll do that, and they just go, and they just go back to it, and he's just like, okay, sorry, I showed a moment of joy.
Why go to the moon? It's probably my favorite speech.
We do things.
Why? We choose to go to the moon not because it is easy, but because it is hard.
Because it's hard, yes. Dude. And he also, in one of his speeches about them, he had a great joke.
He also, and there he goes.
This is Nixon. They're
play Texas. That gets
not Nixon. I'm sorry. This is Kennedy. They're talking about. In case anybody wants to know, like what's going on, because it's not listed. This is Kennedy's speech about going to the moon and this decade and all that stuff. And it all happened after he died.
Every time. I'm just like, dude, why are they playing? They get fucking killed every year.
That's right.
And they're still doing it.
Yes. Kennedy also had a great parable he used to tell. There's a lot of speeches that are lost because a lot of these guys, they didn't record every speech. But one of his, he liked telling jokes about Irish guys. So did Reagan. They had that in common. They both used like Patty jokes.
Yeah.
So he tells a story in during his moon mission, when trying to get the money and the country behind the moon. And he talks about these 3 Irish guys walking along the leas of whatever, just crossing the great green grasses of Ireland. And then they get to a wall, stone wall. And they go, should we climb the wall or should we go turn back and go home? And one of them takes his friend's hat off his head and throws it over the wall and says, I guess we're going. So that was part of Kennedy's thing. It's not that good.
No,
but anyway,
that's cool.
So, and then Nixon's president when they land on the moon. And there's in his library in Yorba Linda, California, where he was born and raised, and the little house that he was born in is there at the library. There's a phone, which is the phone that he talked to the moon on. It's the White House. They took the White House phone that he made. It's just a fucking beige phone with a big white button and a big red hold button. I don't know if he put them on hold, but he, talked to, well, it's just wonderful that you're up there.
You're up on the moon.
You're up there and Jack is dead. Fuck him. And
nothing could stop me now.
Yeah, no. So he was president when that happened, and so 68 turns into the 72, and now the country's really fucking changing. Everything's in color now. The TV's in color. Everything's, hippies are starting to get old.
Yeah, they're starting to wash out a little.
Yes.
What's sadder than that?
2 things happened to the hippies. First of all, they killed a bunch of them. They killed a bunch of their leaders. But they also got the drugs started to take a bad effect. They went from mind liberating pot to fucking heroin and cocaine, which are dark drugs. They became dark
evil
high.
hippies.
Yes, and then some of them grew up and had families and wanted to be rich. So, and there's another thing you can find on YouTube that's great are the debates between Abby Hoffman and Rubin. He was Jane Fonda's husband, and he was a congressman eventually. But he was one of the Jerry Rubin, I think his name is. He was one of the yippies. He's one of the. He was a wicked radical, and he used to be one of those guys. We're not taking his shit anymore, and the president come here and kiss my fucking ass. Yeah. And Abby Hoffman had the best.
Became a congressman.
Yes, Abby Hoffman was even. Abby Hoffman said the N-word constantly during speeches because he would just be with a bullhorn and talking about "fuck you," and he was like really inappropriate, and he was really a lit up nut. Abby Hoffman. Him and Jerry Rubin were like the East Coast, West Coast hippies. Later, Jerry Rubin became a huge capitalist. He became a yuppie. That's where the term yuppie came from. And the two of them debated. They traveled together to different universities, and they would debate their generation's new predicaments of, do we keep the fight going of trying to get out of wars and trying to be Democrats and trying to liberate this country? And the other ones were like, we got to grow up, and we got to. And what Rubin was saying was, we need a candidate. We need to win an election. So we need to go to the center, and we need to talk to big business and small business, and we need to talk about being a practical, because that's the liberal dream. And this became Clinton. This is where Clinton came from from the hippies saying, okay, we're not going to just protest our whole lives and be these losers. At one point, they had a huge amount of power.
Yeah.
In Vietnam, they had a lot of power. They held this vigil around the Lincoln Memorial. And I mean, think of the time, because MLK gave this speech there and they fucking shot the guy. And I remember being at the Lincoln Memorial with my kids and saying that this spot, the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, is it's a place you can really understand American history from. Because you look that way, you see Washington, and that was the creation of our country, right? And then you see the Capitol, which was the growth of this legislature. But there's Washington, which was the creation of the country and revolution. And then there was Lincoln, who kept it together as a union, who that was the second step. Yeah, we're our own country, but also, even if millions die, we need to be a union. Okay, that's what Lincoln did. And then who stood here and made this place even important for a new generation? MLK stood there, and there was a sea of people, and he had to fight for inside of that union that Lincoln preserved, that Washington started. He said, we have to fight for our rights in here. He was the first one to say there's a civil way to fight for, to push for our rights legally and through quiet, through nonviolent resistance. So this is a huge place.
It's firing me up, dude.
Right?
This
country is
cool,
incredibly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. We'll go back to just 20 seconds, but we'll go back to that one so we can start fresh. I didn't talk as much. I hope that made made people happier. Wasn't flapping the old lips. I am completely red. Maybe I need an allergy pill. I don't know. Maybe I've had too much coffee. I don't know. So I'm going to end this here, and then I'm going to jump right back into it in about 5 minutes. But until then, there's a thanks button on the channel. You could donate if you'd like. You don't have to. All donations are appreciated. If you donate and you request something, it does move to the top of the list. If not, you can still request things. It just takes longer. That was my stomach. You can subscribe to the channel. That helps. Give a thumbs up. And if you're somebody who gives a thumbs down, my stomach's growling, so that tells me you'll probably be cannibalized by like a baby giraffe or something. Whatever. Make it make sense. But until next time, have a good day, have a good night.